After the lectures of very eminent professors in Sky, I am wondering how I am going to do justification to the topic given to me. But I am confident that I can deliver some information based on the philosophy of Vethathiri Maharishi. The topic given to me is overall view of consciousness. Since time immemorial, the human race believed in supernatural power as the source and cause of all happenings in the universe. Innumerable faiths prevailed all over the past and still continues to prevail. So also, innumerable doctrines and theories evolved. The search for that supernatural power or truth has been the endeavor of intellectual minds all along, and continues to be persistent. It is named as God or Almighty commonly, and as absolute space, truth, nature, and divinity philosophically, and as gravity and unified force scientifically. Gravity is the mighty force that is the primordial state of the universe. Vethathiri Maharishi, by his insight and intuition, defines gravity as nature, absolute space, everlasting, singular, almighty, all-penetrative, thoroughly permeable, highly transparent, imperceptible, dark fluid matter, characterized by quivering, kinematic, self-compressive, inexhaustible, surrounding pressure, which results in automatic repulsion in its intensification and emerges as the quantized formative dust. Gravity is identified as unified force, the source of all forces, with four indivisible innate qualities, namely plenum, force, consciousness, and time. It is also defined as omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient stock force. Force is construed as self-compressive, omniscience as consciousness, which is exhibited as order of function in everything and everywhere, plenum as inexhaustible source, and time as having a fundamental unit equivalent to the duration of one blink of the eye. In the words of Vethathiri Maharishi, these four innate properties of gravity are indivisible, inseparable from gravity and from one another. Only by these four properties, the gravity transforms itself into all principles and phenomena of the universe. Among the four innate properties of gravity, consciousness is very important and valuable. Whoever is in search or research on nature must realize that it is essential to understand the value and greatness of consciousness in all functions of the universe. Intellectuals and some of these research scholars are eagerly striving to understand the nature of the consciousness and explain it to others. But they incorrectly define consciousness as a separate and exclusive principle. It is a wrong concept, as the consciousness is the intrinsic quality of gravity. It can be explained only in the light of functions and movements of gravity. Consciousness cannot be considered or investigated separately from gravity, as it is perfectly regulating and directing gravity. Consciousness is a crucial principle in the fields of both philosophy and science. It cannot be considered with the sense of meaning expressed in the vocabulary language of languages. Consciousness is a word inherent of rich meanings. It is inherent of holistic concepts of several secrets of stable and dynamic aspects of evolution, functions, and results of universe. As the consciousness is the attribute of nature, all the qualities and greatness of nature are inherent with consciousness too. There are millions of functions wonderfully and omnisciently dramatized too. There are millions of functions wonderfully and omnisciently dramatized by the consciousness in the evolutionary existence and results of the universe. Consciousness as an order of function causes, governs, and guides all the self-transformatory process of gravity. The first and foremost self-transformation caused by the self-compression and kinematic quivering of space is quantized formative dust. This tiny fragmented piece of space itself, which has all the four attributes of space, inclusive of consciousness. Likewise, consciousness travels with all the four following transformations as energy particles, that is Akash, elementary particles, that is electron, proton, and neutron, then atoms, which are called as names, elements, molecules, and matter, and all the micro and macro appearances, living and non-living all over the universe, carrying consciousness as an innate quality. In addition to self-transformation, the order of function determines and guides mutation and cause and effect principle all along until the appearance of man. The three capabilities of the divine state are self-transformation, mutation, and cause and effect. Vethathiri Maharishi has referred to them as creativity, effort, and impact. Self-transformation is the changes undergone by the divine state up to the level of living beings, including man. Mutation is the ability to function in keeping with the needs and circumstances. The principle of cause and effect is the result born of every deed. Everything in the universe is characterized by a pattern, precision, and regularity that controls its structure and quality as per the order of function in nature. The millions and millions of stars and planets that fill the skies spin and rotate around each other without collisions. They move in set patterns, never deviating from their ordained paths. This is the consciousness of the divine state working as order of function. In living beings, consciousness exhibits itself as cognition, experience, and discrimination. And in man, it exhibits itself as the sixth sense, which is knowing self or divinity. As whenever we refer to space, consciousness is also synonymous. The word consciousness is also synonymous with it. In human beings, consciousness is present in the fractional form, though there is no difference between this and the total consciousness of Almighty space. In man, The consciousness governs and guides inherently all the physiological and psychological functions. Human mind is a functional extension of it with three levels, namely conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. The superconscious functional level of mind is nothing but divinity itself, which functions without being influenced by the karmas, which are nothing but the imprints at the genetic center. The genetic center itself is nothing but the absolute space with the attribute of consciousness itself. During the different stages of meditation we perform in this system, taught by our Guru Vethathiri Maharishi, the mind travels through beta, alpha, theta, and delta ranges of frequencies. At the delta frequency range, the mind comes to the subtle level of 1 to 3 cycles per second, which is almost thoughtless state, and is in a merged state with the Almighty Absolute Space. Now we see that the cycle which started from the Absolute Space with self-transformation as quantized formative dust completes the circle, merging with the truth or divinity itself, which is commonly known as salvation, absolution, or sublimation. Talking about space, as explained by Vethathiri Maharishi, space is everywhere, even at the center of energy particles and in between the energy particles, at the center of planets and stars, and also in between them. As all the celestial bodies are formed, human body also has the 5 Panchabhutas: earth, water, heavy air, and akash. Looking upon the constituent things in the body, our body has more than 90% of space, which is synonymous with consciousness. The energy particles having space or consciousness at the center and in between, circulating all through the body, constitute the life force, and the waves emanating from each life force particles, called as biomagnetism, biomagnetic waves, transforms into tanmatras: pressure, sound, light, taste, and smell, which are the functional principles that give us feelings through the 5 senses. All the perceivable principles all over the universe are perceived through the 5 senses only. And the imperceptible thing we call as divinity or gravity or almighty space, absolute space, or consciousness can only be known and felt through meditation when our mind goes to subtler and subtler stages. So with this only, we are able to accept the principle and philosophy expounded by our Guru Vethathiri Maharishi. A continuous study, analysis, and research of the philosophy given by our Guru only can make us realize consciousness, which is also otherwise synonymously known as God. With this, I conclude my explanations, thanking one and all who are all part of this wonderful conference. Thank you all. Be blessed by the divine. Be blessed by the divine. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. It was an excellent journey with you. And we now call upon Dr. K. Perumal, and Doctor will enlighten us on consciousness in daily life. Andrada Valvin Unarvanalai. Welcome, Dr. K. Perumal Ayya.